Konnichiwa Mina, this is Chisakura and you're watching Watame Files. Today I'm going to be doing something a little special. I'm going to be doing comic story arcs. I kind of went through and decided to think about what are the top story arcs that really haven't looked at as much as I think they have. I have seen a couple, here and there's of, why don't we do this? Or they do the genre, horror comic and stuff like that. Well, I decided to go ahead and talk about the top 11 comic arcs, and I'm not going to, story arcs. I'm not going to be talking mainly about them in order, because I really haven't thought of what is the top 10, top 11 in order. So I'm just going to go in and talk about those. And the main reason I wanted to have been doing just something about comics is I've been inspired by definitely a couple people from Comic Vine and YouTube, mainly G-Man, and especially got Hayden Claire Heroes, or also known as Comic Uno. That really has inspired me because I really like how she does her YouTube videos. So I decided it was time that I throw some comic information in there as well that I feel like I should do. Now I have a whole table right here. Unfortunately, I don't have a really good webcam. All I have is just the one that's run on my iMac. So I've been trying to get my PSI, but let me see if I can turn it towards it. And you can't see it because of the light. But I do have 11 major story arcs that I feel are very important to comics, and I do have one that is my favorite, and I will say it for the last, and I'll explain why. Now, the first one I'm going to talk about, if I get these up, are going to be, special appearances. With these special appearances are the ones that you're going to get, guest stars. I hate how this camera works. Guest starring the Punisher and the New Warriors, or, right here we have Doctor Strange with Rome. Spider-Man joins up with Johnny Blaze to take down the current Ghost Rider, or help him with Hobgoblin, it looks like. And then, just going into other things such as, Evil Eddie with Lady Death. So that's the first one I want to talk about, because really, when it comes down to it, it's not the most important one. Even though I did say I wasn't trying to do these as, number 1 through 11, I guess I am. Unintentionally. Next one that I feel is actually very important, which we have seen with DC extensively and other comics. Even Image does a couple of these and a couple of the other ones. Marvel hasn't done so many, but they are infamous for the ones they have done. And I'm talking about children. And children is very important because with the children ones, we get to see what happens. Especially with J2. His father's a villain, hands down. But he's not. He's not a villain. So it's good to see that, prosperity does change. The next biggest one that I like to talk about is going to be timeline comics. And what I mean by that is, timeline comics are different types of comics which really, they took into account, it could be a what-if story like this one, or in the case of the two I showed before, and this is a what-if story too, introducing new characters from a different time zone, which is very important. The next biggest thing I was thinking about is what-ifs and make sure we got the right one up, the What The comics. And each of these are extremely important because, well, a What The comic is definitely a spoofer comic, and they go out of their way, to introduce new characters to us, but make fun of the character that they are producing, and to even bring out some of our other pastime favorites. When it comes to the what ifs in comics, like this one right here. What if Wolverine had joined S.H.I.E.L.D. instead of the X-Men? Or, another good one is right here. What if Doctor Doom became Supreme Sorcerer. This really brings up an important thing. I noticed that Marvel is the biggest one that likes to go with this. Image does have a couple of them as well. DC, I'm trying to really think. The biggest one I know of is, the Superboy comics of, what if Superboy is this? But of course, those are more like, the different dimensions. So I guess Earth 2 would also count as well and stuff like that. And these are very fun comics to read because you never know what you're really going to get. Wow. Actually, I guess you do, because they'll flat out tell you, what if, the Avengers lost Operation Galaxy Storm. So at least that way they give you a heads up of, what are you going to be reading. But sometimes, like another one which I have, which is what if the second A Child of the Fantastic Four had lived. They give you two storylines, two story arcs right there. You have evil and you have good, going off of the basis of what if this child had survived. So those are some very important ones, and ones that I actually enjoy collecting. The next one is a fun one, because really it's the only generic one I had to come up with, which is specials. And as you can see from the first one right here, I have a special where they mix two universes together to give us these weird and wacky ones, which are fun to do. From there we have specials such as, what if Superman's secrets were revealed? I don't consider this one to be a what if one because it happens and doesn't really change anything. Then of course you have the 4-part series that people usually do. And with the little mini-series that I like to do, this is important because they do have fun and go out and give us, little tad bits of, storylines that could have been, are, or is. I guess that's how you put it. Next ones, are going to be things like, Tiny Titans, which is a funny little one. It's mainly oriented towards the kids, but it makes great for all of us who love our Teen Titans. Then from there, going on for things like, Superboy, which is actually arrested in this one and is almost convicted. And then, of course, we go on other little things such as, Punisher finally gets arrested by the UN and is now judged. And you'll be seeing appearances from my brother because he has to play as WoW. And anything I say here, he'll probably have no idea what I'm talking about because he is completely illiterate on comics. And I guess I get embarrassed him on YouTube. Next biggest ones, will be like, Marvel Zombies. And then going from there, some of my favorites that I have only been able to find one, the PvPers, which is a complete spoofer. Just a comic that makes fun of other comics, but has fun with it and enjoy it. That's why I consider these to be, special